In November 2022, Deliveroo vanished from Australia almost overnight. Riders were locked out of their apps, restaurants scrambled to find alternatives, and customers were left asking, what just happened? This was not a tiny startup collapsing. It was a billion-dollar global company, backed by Amazon, with years of investment behind it. Yet in Australia, Deliveroo simply could not survive.
Deliveroo announced it was ceasing its operations immediately, leaving 12,000 restaurants, 15,000 riders and 120 staff without work.
Food delivery service has ditched Australia. The collapse leaving 150 staff and 15,000 riders without a job.
Online food delivery platform Deliveroo is closing its operations in Australia.
This is the story of why Deliveroo came to Australia, how much it invested, the fierce battles it fought against Uber Eats, Menulog, and DoorDash, and ultimately why it lost hundreds of millions before retreating in defeat. When Deliveroo first arrived in Australia in 2015, it was full of optimism. At the time, food delivery was still finding its modern identity. Menulog, founded in Sydney in 2006, was already a local favorite, but it mostly acted as an online ordering platform, where restaurants used their own staff for delivery. Deliveroo wanted to bring something different. A fleet of dedicated riders in teal jackets and branded backpacks, zipping across the city on scooters and bicycles, delivering restaurant food straight to customers' doors. It was a bold new vision, and Deliveroo was confident it could win. Globally, it had raised over $1.7 billion by 2019, with investors like Amazon pouring money into its expansion. Tens of millions were earmarked for Australia alone, but while the money flowed in, the returns didn't. From the beginning, Deliveroo was in trouble. Australia's market was smaller than Europe or the United States, worth around $2.5 to $3 billion annually at the time, but it was intensely competitive. Menulog was entrenched, and in 2016, just a year after Deliveroo's arrival, Uber Eats entered the scene. Uber already had brand recognition, a massive user base through its ride-hailing app, and almost unlimited cash reserves. It quickly used those advantages to dominate. Deliveroo, meanwhile, carved out a niche in premium restaurants. It partnered with trendy eateries, hoping to attract wealthier urban customers. But this strategy came at a cost. The platform lacked mass appeal in suburban areas, where Uber Eats and later DoorDash aggressively expanded. By 2019, Deliveroo was struggling to break past a market share of 10 to 12%, while Uber Eats surged past 45% and Menulog held around 25%. To compete, Deliveroo had to spend a lot. It poured millions into marketing campaigns, rider sign-up bonuses, and customer discounts. At one point, discounts of 50% off were common. Yet every discount widened the financial hole. Analysts estimated Deliveroo lost more than $120 million during its 6 years in Australia, with annual losses of $30 million or more in its final years. The economics simply did not stack up. For every order, Deliveroo charged restaurants commissions of about 30%, similar to Uber Eats. But Uber Eats had volume, and it could spread its cost across millions of transactions. Deliveroo did not. Its riders often waited longer between jobs, which meant higher costs per delivery. Restaurants, meanwhile, questioned why they should pay such high fees when they weren't seeing the same sales growth they got from Uber Eats or Menulog. The COVID-19 pandemic could have been a turning point. In 2020, demand for food delivery exploded as lockdowns swept across Australia. Millions turned to apps to order meals. Deliveroo's order volumes did rise, but not enough. Uber Eats captured the lion's share, leveraging its massive driver network. Menulog leaned into its established base, and DoorDash, which entered Australia in 2019, used the pandemic to rapidly expand in suburban and regional areas. Deliveroo, again, was left fighting for scraps. By mid-2021, the numbers painted a grim picture. Uber Eats with nearly 50% market share, Menulog steady at 25%, DoorDash climbing fast into double digits, and Deliveroo still stuck in the low teens. Deliveroo had no clear growth path. Restaurants were also losing patience. Many complained about Deliveroo's fees and slow delivery times compared to Uber Eats. Riders, too, voiced frustration. Because demand was lower, many Deliveroo riders sat idle between jobs, earning less than their Uber Eats counterparts. This added to ongoing criticism about gig worker pay and job security, further tarnishing Deliveroo's image. Deliveroo's global leadership had a decision to make. The company was under financial pressure everywhere. Its 2021 IPO on the London Stock Exchange was rocky, with investors skeptical of its profitability. Deliveroo's strategy shifted. Focus only on markets where it could be number one or a strong number two. And Australia was not one of them. And so, in November 2022, Deliveroo pulled the plug. With little warning, it shut down operations across Australia. Thousands of riders lost their side income, and hundreds of restaurants were left scrambling to switch to other platforms. The exit was abrupt, but for those watching closely, not surprising. Deliveroo had been bleeding money for years, unable to scale, and unable to break through the dominance of Uber Eats and Menulog. The numbers were brutal. Globally, Deliveroo had invested billions into international expansion. In Australia, analysts suggest losses exceeded $120 million across its 6 years. Meanwhile, Uber Eats thrived, Menulog stayed resilient, and DoorDash continued its aggressive rise. Deliveroo's premium-focused strategy, smaller network, and lack of brand power meant it simply could not compete. Looking back, Deliveroo's story in Australia is a lesson in the limits of ambition. Money alone wasn't enough. Australia's food delivery market, despite being small, was too crowded and too competitive. Success required scale, efficiency, and customer loyalty, things Deliveroo never truly achieved. For customers, the exit barely made a dent. Most simply switched to Uber Eats, Menulog, or DoorDash. But for businesses and riders, it was a stark reminder of how fragile gig economy platforms can be. One day they're there, the next they're gone. Deliveroo came to Australia with big dreams. It left with heavy losses and little more than a cautionary tale. In the world of food delivery, survival isn't guaranteed. And in Australia, only the giants remain.